Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us for the AdEspresso September webinar. So as you can see on your screens there, the topic of today's training is how to leverage the power of automation with Google Ads. And I'm excited to be joined today by Alex, Ioch, and Sebastian Nordström, who are from the Google team themselves. So we're going to be getting some official training. We're going to be hearing the best advice right from the horse's mouth. So thank you very much to Google for allowing us to collaborate with you on this webinar. I'm going to hand over to Alex and Seb in a second to do their own intros, but just before I do, a tiny bit of housekeeping, because we always get asked if we're recording, because I know some people want to go back over the training. So yes, we are. We'll be sending this out by email within 24 hours. Sometimes those emails don't arrive because of spam filters and privacy policies and so on. So if you don't receive it, you can go to adespresso.com/webinars. Again, that will be the replay will be available there within 24 hours. We also have our YouTube channel. Just search for AdEspresso on YouTube, and we've got all the previous webinars, and this one will be hosted there. Also, if you've got any questions as we go along, just go to your GoToWebinar chat box there. My colleague Tori will be monitoring chat, so if you've got any technical issues or anything like that, just put it in there and we'll be able to get to your question as soon as possible. And without further ado, I'm just going to hand over to Alex and Seb. So just give us a second where we set up the slides here.
All right. Perfect. Welcome, everyone. Super excited to be here. We're going to talk about automated bidding strategies today. And thank you so much for the AdEspresso team for hosting us. Super huge pleasure and honor to be here. To start off, a little bit of intro of ourselves. So I'm Alex, Ioch, regional product lead on America's automation team. Actually been working externally on agencies and customers directly. So painfully familiar with all the nuts and whistles and bells and struggles you guys are facing on every day. So if any questions are going to come up during this presentation, feel free to put in the question chat. We'll be able to answer them as they come. And we also have Sebastian today with me.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Sebastian Nordström. Happy to be here today. I'm working as an account manager on our channel partnerships team in Americas, where I'm helping our strategic ecosystem partners to make sure that we serve SMBs through the third-party ecosystem properly by offering the latest and greatest via our solutions. And if you go to the next slide, Alex. It's the agenda for today. We have 5 modules that we're gonna take you all through. They're all connecting to automation and the latest that we're offering in terms of our solutions from Google with regards to this. So we'll start off with like why automation is important and why the timing is good now to start thinking about this. We go over then to you know, how we can do this and you know, the strategies and tactics that we can deploy to do it, followed by a deep dive on dynamic search ads as well, which is one of the latest ways that we can leverage machine learning to expand your efficiency and reach on Google. And then we'll go through a bit of myth busting and pitfalls and frequently asked questions that we usually are hearing with regards to these topics that we'll be presenting. Following that, we'll do a quick Q&A in the end as well. So without further ado, I hand over to Alex to do the first module.
Thank you so much, Seb. So quickly wanted to acknowledge some of the facts and challenges you're all facing. So bidding is complex. It's definitely the challenge. And then the biggest hurdle is there's so many different complexity signals involved in the real time. So which it's really hard to do and do efficiently manually or to making sure your ads are visible for the people. Right, so auction then are really dynamic, and then on top of that, if all that is not enough, we also are facing always expanding customer journeys. So the interaction points are getting more complex, not a straight line as before, and that's also adds to complexity of being there. Then actually customers need your ads and then really needs your solution. So all of that is a tremendous challenge that customers and agencies are facing in terms of being present on a moment of time. Then really customer needs to get the solution for themselves, right? Luckily, we do have a solution for that in the form of machine learning. So this is the same neural network system design, which is running self-driving cars, for example. The same strategy and the same machine learning process and algorithms are actually powering our smart bidding solutions, which are really constantly learning on real-time feedback, not just like once a day, twice a day, just every single auction time. And they're adjusting the performance based on like 75 million signals real time to making sure you are visible for the people who actually care. And the moment of time is actually they are perceptive to, and then they really need your solution and your product to purchase, right? So it's really dynamic, really tailored to a specific business which you are into. And if you take it back a little bit, like 10 years ago, so we all been there. Things are really simple. Keyword bids, that's what we got, and then we've been working at that, and there've been not been too complicated process there. But the things got a little bit more complicated as the time progressed. So we added more controls, more signals like time, devices, locations, days of the week, etc. So you have a lot more reporting side. You can understand more insights to where your customers are, how they interact, and so on. But of course, we didn't stop there. So we keep on progressing and adding more and more signals. And to the point that today, like as I mentioned, 75 million signals there, which is really tremendously hard and almost impossible to do by hand, right? So I wish we all have supercomputer brains, but we don't. And that's why we did invent machine learning process and algorithm, which is actually takes care of that for us. So which actually analyzes real time how the people interact with your ad landing pages and so on, and who are the ones who are more perceptive to actually to convert. So that really helps to drive the performance further. And it's another important, really important, great point is here that when we're looking on the performance or specific signals in mind, we don't just kind of isolate to just a few of them or kind of combinations. We also take a look at how the signals they really interact together. Simply put, we're creating digital marketing persona on the back end. So it's really how those signals interact and how correlate with each other, which makes that person stand out as more potentially having higher intent of consumption or really conversion rate, right? So that is really helping us to understand, well, what is the difference between person A and B, and then why person A is more or less likely to convert with your specific brand, even though they like have maybe more similar intent signals before entering auction. So that is also really helps to understand more unique situations specifically to your brand. So think of not just standalone signals, but how do they really work together? What makes that profile of users unique, and why they are more likely to convert with your specific brand? So that's what we're trying to do. That's why we're trying to learn real time, and then constantly iterating and making sure we do a good job of showing ads to the people you selected, but also who are more likely to actually convert with your brand, not just everyone, right? So that's in a nutshell our job here. And in terms of benefits, of course, that's this complexity and then really solving for that helps you to be a little bit more, smarter in terms of your investment and then where you're allocating your resources, right? So that really frees up the time, and you're by allowing yourself to tap into those millions of signals on the back end, you're actually you're more efficient in your investment, and you're more proactive in real time in those allocation of your resources and investments. So it makes it a little more smarter in terms of investment allocation, right? The other one is also frees a lot of time on your end because you're no longer doing this manual bidding. And trust me, I've been there a long time ago and try to do things manually, but it takes so much time, and then can really do it more efficiently than the system does, but allowing yourself to free up this time, you actually can focus on other really important things, such as testing new formats, providing great customer service, thinking about your attribution models, and design. Like, I cannot stress how important is design of your landing page, making sure that the customer journey is really seamless, and then you bringing them to really quickly to that conversion page, right? Instead of like letting them wander around your website. So it's really important and really frees up a lot of your time to focus on those really important tasks. And of course, all of that really helps to improve your return on investment. Of course, the bottom line, we all acknowledge, we all know that we're only successful at Google if you are the customers, right? So you can see here quick stats that on average we do have 30% increase in conversions. So for example, like using target-driven investment strategy. So that's one of the things kind of not only we brag about the smart bidding, but we want to make sure it actually works, and then it's really beneficial for the customers. So that's why a lot of customers see success with utilizing smart bidding solutions. With that, I hand over to Seb for the attaining marketing objectives section.
Thank you, Alex. If you go to the next slide right away. So as we talk about smart bidding and automation through smart bidding, it's good to highlight that smart bidding itself is not the end goal here. Smart bidding is like the technology that allows us to reach our marketing objectives. So the way we envision this and how we design our products and developing this them with regards to smart bidding and automation is by looking at the key marketing objectives that advertisers want to achieve, and then we create different strategies for achieving those marketing objectives. So the idea is that you should be able to state what you want to achieve and say, I want to grow, or I want to become more profitable, and then we have a smart bidding strategy to match that objective for you. And in the background, obviously, this is taken care of by the machine learning and the algorithms we are developing behind all of this. So as Alex said, time efficiency, but also removing the complexity, as this job is getting harder and harder to do manually. We believe this is the right way forward to focus on the end business goal and marketing objective that you want to achieve. So if we're taking a look at the different, to start with, like the different breaking it down into campaigns objective first. The ones that we want you to focus on here is really the four bottom ones, as these are the ones that are really leveraging all the signals that we have and all the ML technology that we have powering this. So I would break them up into two different ones. The first, the middle ones there, focusing on achieving a certain volume, and the two bottom ones more focusing on profitability targets. So based on what you're trying to achieve, this is how you should think about it. Do you want to go after volume, or do you want to go after profitability? And then based on what how your business is set up, and what is possible to achieve to find the right the bidding strategy for you. So if we go to the next slide, illustrated in a very intuitive way to help you decide what the best bidding strategy is for you based on how your current account is set up and what you're trying to achieve. So the most important thing where you should start is to have conversion tracking in place. This is a prerequisite for every single smart bidding strategy. And obviously, why? Because we need to make sure that we can measure when a sale or a conversion happens, so we can feed this data back to the bidding algorithms to power them and have them learn from your conversions what the right type of customer is, etc. So the first step is to set this up. Second step is to look at, okay, what kind of conversions are we currently measuring? Are we only measuring conversions as you know, a binary and kind of valuing them the same way, or are we actually splitting up conversions in terms of, you know, how much each individual conversion is worth? So the way to think about this is, if you're an e-commerce, for example, are you passing over the transaction value of each single transaction? If you're doing this, then we can start to take this into consideration and bid higher for people that are likely to, you know, purchase higher value items or higher profitability items for you. So if you have, if you're passing over this conversion value, that will allow you to use a few more smart bidding strategies. If you're not passing over that conversion value, you're more likely to focus on like a generic CPA target. So you're saying on average that this is how much I can pay for a conversion, and then we will leverage this information to automate to get conversions off under that CPA target. So based on this, you're seeing these 4 smart bidding strategies pop up here. So this should allow you to know which one is the right one for you. One important thing to highlight as well is that you don't need conversions in your campaign to start with most of these marketing strategies. A lot of people are under the impression that you need a lot of conversions for this to work, but that is not the case on 3 of these 4 smart bidding strategies. That's important to realize as well. We go to the next slide. If we map this to marketing objectives, you can see here that these smart bidding strategies are applicable to all different business models. So if you're in e-commerce generating online sales, you can leverage all of them based on the decision-making tree there and based on your setup. Same thing goes for lead generation, and same thing goes for offline sales, as long as you're measuring those conversions offline as well. So this is a good way to kind of think about it and adapt it to your own business and see, you know, which is the right implementation for me, and you know, how can I leverage this in my business to reach my goals.
One important thing, Seb, I may to call out here is you can see we have for marketing objectives like online sales, generate leads, and offline sales, right? So those are the biggest ones in terms of focus and where your business will like to go and evolve. All of them are either tied for the number of conversions or the revenue you're focusing and chasing for. As you can see, the brand awareness tactic is not here on purpose because we are not solving the smart bidding for brand awareness. As Seb mentioned, we have target impression share, maximize clicks. Those are the not smart bidding strategies, but they are the ones bidding solutions which can help you to achieve marketing awareness objectives, right? So there's no conflict here. If you like to focus on the bottom line, if you want to drive online sales, generate leads, or even foot traffic to your store, all the smart bidding solutions here, the forefront you see on the screen, and then full automated the type of campaigns such as smart shopping campaigns, smart display campaigns. Those are going to be the ones who are helping you to try to achieve your results there. But if you'd like to focus more of making sure you're visible a certain amount of time, or you're driving the website traffic, you can do that with more like a marketing awareness, not smart bidding strategies such as maximize clicks or target impression share. Just want to make sure you guys are clear that the distinguishing there, and it's like a full package between those two.
Next slide, please. Back to you, Alex.
All right, thanks, Seb. And here we kind of wanted to quickly touch a little bit more on okay, well, we understand that we can be a lot more efficient than targeting the right users of the people you already selected to make sure who are the ones who are more likely to convert. But it's only part of the game to to get your name there, right? So you also need to have proper best practices, making sure you're not only visible for right people, but you also did a good job in terms of actually inducing them to convert, essentially. So that's what the section is about. As you can see here, you can actually access smart bidding strategies as highlighted here from AdEspresso interface. Team did an amazing job in incorporating it. It's like super lean and clear how to do things here. So feel free to definitely leverage the platform and then it's really sleek and nice interface to actually implement smart bidding solutions from the AdEspresso interface. So great shout out to the team there for their amazing engineering achievement here. Okay. As we go along, so those are the things quickly we wanted to touch on too in terms of, in addition to smart bidding, what are the things you can help yourself to focus on and really drive success for yourself, right? So one of the things is really, well, we did mention that a lot of signals here on the backend we have about the user and which are proprietary ones, and now this signals being one of them. What we actually do not have and things you can help us with is, for example, a list of customers who are converting with you already, right? Or a list of things you have in your CRM system, which are like you own those lists, right? So those are the signals we refer to first-party audience lists for your campaigns. You can actually upload to the interface for customer match list, for example, and they're like becoming one more extra signals for us to optimize for. So if we know what is the type of people who not only converted within the platform itself, but extra ones, extra lists and audiences which we don't have an access. If you add them, you're only helping yourself to make sure the system is more and more efficient, and then we have access to that information and data with compliance, of course. But the way we can be able to incorporate those signals to see what is a predicted conversion rate for a specific type of the user, and then really help you to target a relevant user as well. So the second one is also making sure you do evaluate your touch points more fairly. And then that really ties to the last click attribution model. And last but not least, we're going to cover that more in terms of smart creatives, smart solutions here. So with that, the first one, again, what are we exactly talking about for non-last click attribution model? Conventionally, back in the day, a lot of customers and agencies have been using last click attribution model, where you assigning 100% of the conversion value or conversion number to the last touch points. Not always really effective strategy, for the reason being that, again, to our earlier point, it takes a lot of different touch points usually for the user to convert. So it's not just like they see your ad out of the blue and they immediately convert. Of course, you have to be realistic that they need to have a lot more discovery involved, a lot of different touch points, maybe click on different ads within your customer journey before they actually convert, right? So having other attribution models, like for example, data-driven being the best one here, which dynamically assigned breaks down the same conversion value, but per different touch point. So say if you had 3 different touch points before the user actually convert, and then if we know that the first one or the second one has the highest contribution to the actual decision process of the user actually converting, the system will actually assign the proper value. So break down that one conversion for wherever number is necessary, making sure we've adequately evaluate the actual touchpoint contribution to overall conversion, right? So the total number conversion doesn't change, but it does help you to be more efficient in your management of your account. Taking a look at what are the keywords actually converting or not, and how the other upper mid-funnel keywords are actually driving the success for the lower ones, right? So that tactic really helps, and then on average helps to increase your number of conversions for 5%. So that's really one of the best practices to not only also using smart bidding strategy, but also like overlapping that with not classic attribution model. It's not a requirement, just to be clear, so Smart Bidding will work with any attribution model, but as a best practice for you to making sure you fairly evaluate your touch points. So the other one is really, well, being in front of the user, it's one thing, but you have to understand that all we're really doing as a marketers is really aligning your messaging, your core value proposition in terms of the actual customers. So it's super, super important making sure your ad creative is really tailored to specific needs of the user and customer at that specific time, which is a tremendous challenge, but there's the ways to make it more efficiently and the ways not to kind of guess that, or making sure you actually can be able to dynamically and adequately put your ad copy, your messaging to the right user and what matters most. So with that, we did help you guys to making sure you kind of eliminate that guesswork, which headline or messaging or combination of those things could be the best for the right user. And for search, created the responsive search ads. So it's been there for some time, but we do consistently see great success with that. And just to want to make sure iterate here. So 10% increase uplift from number of conversions or clicks from responsive search ads. This is when you combine them with your already existing expanded text ads. So responsive search ads is just another format of ETA, but what it does is actually dynamically helps you to combine the headlines and description lines, which really matter to the user. So if we see that this particular user might actually prefer this specific headline and this specific combination of those description lines and so on, so though we will be serving that ad to the user, making sure your ad is really relevant. So that incrementality of sometimes with ETAs, your ad is not as relevant. So the responsive search ads really helps to cover those gaps and being combining and really proposing the actual combination which really matters to the user. So that combination, combining with more like a programmatic element of smart bidding solution, really helps to not only kind of target the right user, but also show them the right message. So between those two, you have 100% of higher chances of actually succeeding because you're also putting the right message in front of the user. And similarly to that idea of responsive search ads, we also have kind of the same story for responsive display ads. So really natively looking slick algorithm here, which combining not only your descriptions and the business, the name, etc., but also your like your images, right? So many times users really like it so a lot that they feel really native to them. It doesn't even feel as an advertising, right? So they sometimes they actually see that as a part of the landing page, as part of the blog, wherever they're reading. It really helps to boost the performance and relevance of those ads. So on average, it increases by 50% of more conversions if comparing to like standard image ads or HTML5 ads. The next one, it's really in addition to having the responsive search ads and responsive display ads, there is like with this many times we have a lot of struggles with trying to mine different keywords and constantly trying to chase what exactly the users are searching when they are looking for the custom like solutions and products like mine, right? And what we see historically that on average 15% of the search terms, 15% of queries every single month are actually net new. So we haven't seen them before, which imposes a tremendous challenge from your side, from customer and agency side, to really mine those keywords constantly. And there's a lot of time and resources we need to do to kind of keep consistently with creativity, so per se, of the customers. To solve that problem, so we did create the dynamic search ads, which actually I would say the best of combination of organic and paid. So we'll dive a little bit more in details right now how they work. So really all you need is in terms of you're setting up the dynamic search ads is your landing page and a description, because your actual headline will be dynamically generated to make sure, so the same way as organic works, it's going to be to make sure you follow the best practice from a landing page perspective. But you don't need keywords for this format, right? So if your landing pages will be matching on relevant searches with the users provide, it will help to really generate really custom the headline, but then you do still control your description. So in that case, as a both combination, you still have control what you're messaging with descriptions, but then your headline is perfectly matching what the users are looking for. In instances, it is actually relevant. So the same as like organic works, right? Putting the right landing pages in front of the users. So that really helps to cover the gap and then making sure you don't miss on the search terms which is not in your account, right? So the things that really still be relevant, your landing page will still be relevant for the users. And that really helps to automate all the process. So like incremental search, again, your standard search campaigns will take priority, but things are not covered. Things are not covered by your standard keywords, your regular ETAs or RSAs. They will be part of making sure you don't miss on the relevant search queries on the landing pages you selected. So really going for the long tail automation and helping you to expand rapidly, making sure you kind of cover the gaps and use full reduce effort of campaign management while closing and covering gaps. And so that's that. A lot of customers right now are using that, and on average we do see that there's like tremendous uplift in number of conversions, but there's also, it's really more efficient. So on average, customers see that 30% decrease in their cost per acquisition. So what are the targeting options and how you actually can control dynamic search trends, and what are the things you can do to make it more tailored to what your business needs are? So those are the things you can do in terms of, keep in mind, again, there's no keywords per se, but the way you can control, the way you can target and expand your reach with dynamic search ads is, those are the 5 targeting options here essentially. So you can have specific URL to set, okay, I want this dynamic search ads only show up for this specific URL or the list of URLs, right? So you can do that with first options. The second one will be, okay, well, I have a lot of like really comprehensive website, so I can actually upload the page feeds. So you can aka the spreadsheet there with the list of your landing pages, which you would like to match against relevant search terms and show your ads. So that's going to be now option. Other one is also some portion of your website might be more relevant than other ones. So you can take a look at the automatic categorization of your website and choose specific categories, themes, which are more relevant for you. So sometimes you don't want to show them maybe on some generic information section of your website, but maybe some more relevant call to action landing pages. So you can select them by your categories or by themes. So that will be the third option. Other one will be, and probably this is going to be the place you actually start, is the landing pages from standard ad groups. So again, the landing pages you already work so hard to create and then target and remarket them with the regular search campaigns or ad groups, you can actually leverage those landing pages exactly and put them as a targeting for DSA. And the fifth option is really if you want to be making sure you don't leave any stone unturned, you can target all your website, all landing pages from your website. So as I mentioned, the best option really, and why do we recommend starting with landing pages, because you invest so much effort into creating those landing pages. But the biggest thing is also that you do have clear call to action on those landing pages, you select to target within dynamic search ads. It really helps to making sure you're efficient with your investment, right? Because worst thing you want to do if the people are landing on your people who you paid for landing on your landing pages and actually not converting. So you want to make sure you have a clear, consistent call to action on the landing pages to target, and chances are the ones you're really using on those landing pages you're using for your regular campaigns are the ones, right? And the second option, expanding from that, could be your categories, and then really a little bit more tailoring to that user needs. So how do we set it up? And there's like must-have things here, and then really good to know. So definitely must-have ones. Again, the idea of creative formats, idea of responsive search ads, or the RDAs, and then DSAs here is that, yes, they're all dynamic ones, but they do share one really important key here. They will really work well if you do combine them with smart bidding programmatic element. But think about it, if you are not using smart bidding solutions, full automated solutions, so you're not necessarily showing it to the right user all the time, so it really creates a little bit disconnect. So you can be showing good message, but for the wrong user, it really doesn't really work well. So you want to make sure the step number one is you do combine that with programmatic element, and not only showing the right message, but first of all for the right users. So enabling for above mentioned smart bidding strategies as target CPA, target return on investment, maximize conversion, maximize current value will be the one your first step for you to utilize with this format, right? So really efficient. On top of that, you can again add a lot more lists as an observation, for example, or you can actually select to target them only some from a remarketing perspective or similar audiences, wherever you choose to making sure you know, it's part of your cohesive marketing communication plan. So you can definitely overlay those audiences or target specific ones if you want to. And then from the ads perspective, definitely you have to add a lot more different variations of those descriptions, right? So 3 or more ads per DSA ad group, for example, to boost the performance on average, like by 5 to 15%. So it's important as well. Extensions, again, never hurt to making sure you do have actual relevant information. Same idea as with the standard search campaigns. Definitely make sure you add those up. And in terms of good to have, again, if you would like to a little bit more, make sure you completely cover your website. You can do website coverage with different options we mentioned before. You can utilize, you know, you can exclude actually irrelevant web pages here to as a sort of like a negatives per se, since you don't have keywords, but you can exclude negative like the landing pages and keywords here, not to target them. So it's all in your control. You can definitely do that. Relate to, you know, search term report to see which queries actually show up there, and then which landing pages being, you know, surfaced to. So you can use that to expand your knowledge about things you're not covering right now in your website. So many customers are using the DSAs as a solution to research the market as well. And then definitely follow SEO best practices, because again, your headline is going to be really related to how you structure your landing page. And again, great news, we do have that option in our AdEspresso interface. So you can see here, this is a place you can actually implement those. Moving along to the next section we have is a pitfalls and myth busting. It's probably one of my favorite ones, because we can see that 99.9% of the times it's not as how things are performing for smart bidding side, but also expectations we have and the way we actually analyze the performance. So without further ado, those are the things to watch out when you do implement the smart bidding solutions, and the things you really need to take into consideration. So sometimes when you say using target CPA or target return investment, you have to make sure then the place where you start is actually really realistic. So in our words, for example, if you have been having 500 cost per acquisition price before on manual, and then you all of a sudden you switch to target SPA and you set $50 as a CPA target, then you have to be really realistic. Does it really, am I be able to achieve that, or am I really too aggressive here? How much of the actual headroom am I be able to given the machine to optimize for? Because if you're really scrapping the surface, you're really going for low-hanging fruit and expecting, in addition to that, to achieve a lot more efficiency, then it's going to be really sometimes not realistic to achieve that. So make sure your target you set up, they're aligned with the recommended one from the interface, or like at least the historical ones you've been getting. So that's a good place to start, because you want to be, this informs your competition level. So this is how much competitive I want to be moving forward to, and this is no matter what happens with the market. As we know, the market really dynamic now. So this is what efficiency I want to get consistently. Of course, it's going to fluctuate day to day, but on average, in the longer time, month to month, this is what I want to inform. So therefore, really carefully choose and making sure you're not too aggressive in terms of what you're asking for CPA perspective. Second one, that's probably the biggest hurdle here, is when you do switch over to Smart Bidding solutions, there's the learning period. But I want to make really clear, it's why there's a learning period. So technically speaking, machine learning algorithms always learns. It always makes like a lot more accurate prediction from every single auction to the next auction. So what we're referring to, conventionally speaking, from learning period perspective, it's really going to vary based on your number of conversions and then everything else in your account. It's really, we have a lot of intent signals outside of your account about specific users, right? So we definitely know if the user have higher or lower intent before they actually see your ad. Now, what we're trying to do, we're trying to actually see how they are going to perform and how they are actually going to like your specific ad copy, your specific landing page. That's what we're trying to make more customized, and that's what we're trying to learn, essentially, because we know their the intent before, but we like to understand how they actually what is ideal customer profile of people who would like to convert with your specific brand. So that's what the learning period is there. And the biggest challenge is not to analyze it. So give it a time, but also wherever happens after learning period is over, that is a period of time you should be comparing or evaluating to how the things are actually performing or being going on before. So in addition to that, we also do have that some accounts naturally have a conversion lag. It's not a technical challenge or anything like that, but for example, if you have a lead gen client, or like you are one of the customer who have like lead generation forms, or naturally, sometimes people taking longer to convert, and not everyone is really going to convert immediately that second. Some people are taking a couple weeks, maybe a month to convert. So you want to make sure that you do get all the conversions through when you actually analyze the results. Because you've taken a snapshot as of yesterday, but it takes like on average, 7 days for people to convert. But reality is that you didn't get all conversions yet. So therefore, analyzing performance, it's not really kind of fair in assessment of the reality. So I want to make sure you don't fall into that pitfall as well. So other ones quickly here. This smart bidding, as mentioned before, we are going for the bottom line, right? So if you're optimizing for cost per acquisition or the number of conversions, please do not look at CPCs. Like, why are you looking for CPCs? If you have to be more of a forward thinking and really trying to make sure you optimize for the right metrics. So make sure when you're analyzing performance, you don't expect other metrics to perform as well as you want it to, just because, again, we're optimizing for the bottom line, right? So other one is making custom changes. As we're learning how the people interact with your specific brand or ad copy, it makes sense to keep things consistent, because if you're changing your marketing message, your ad copy, making custom changes to your account, it's not going to be really efficient for us to understand how people interact with that, right? So keep things consistent as much as possible, right? Another one is also, okay, well, if you're, again, it really ties to number 4, but if you have, if you're tight to achieve high impression share and high efficiency, you probably need to choose one, because sometimes high impression share is not correlated to high efficiency. We are also, one of the benefits of smart bidding, you actually bid down on people who are not as like to convert with you. So we kind of saving the cost up there as well. So sometimes your impression share can fluctuate. So that's why making sure you're choosing the one metric to optimize for. Transition a couple, I guess, myth busting things here just to get out of the way. So you do not actually, so if your campaigns are too small or you're starting with 0 conversion, as Seb mentioned before, you actually don't need any conversions to start with target CPA. Maximize conversions, maximize return value. For target return on investment, for TRS, you do have minimum number of 15 conversions per month to start with. So just FYI, you don't have to have any conversions, because again, we know so much about the users before they even see your ad. The game is to understand better how they interact with your ad copy. So conversions definitely help. They are really important, but it's not a prerequisite to start with smart bidding. Now, if you do opt into smart bidding, it's not that your job is over. No, absolutely not. There's so much things you can help us, making sure your web page is optimized, making sure your user experience is done. You're, again, focusing on other testing of your ad creative and so on and so on. Again, the CPC is technically considered manual bidding. It's only optimizes 50% of your traffic. So it's not, again, you don't have to start with CPC. And actually, you can see here in the quick summary of average performance, there's you can start with maximized conversions, for example, and get 20% higher uplift in number of conversions for the same cost per acquisition usually than you have on the CPC. Okay, we touched on this one, so you don't, like, I can immediately evaluate my performance of smart bidding after applying. Not really. You have to making sure you account for learning period and time lag to conversions, right? So when you look at your learning period, which you can actually find within your bid strategy report, so that will be the one you can actually take out from the date range, and then focus on really post control period. So say, for example, you have 2 weeks of learning period, then weeks 3, 4, and 5, that's going to be the ones you are comparing to 3 weeks before implementation. But in addition to that, if you do have conversion lag, then say 7 days, then you need to add extra week there, and just make sure all conversions came through, and then you're going to be compare that to before implementation. So that's more like proper way of statistically speaking, you can fairly evaluate the performance of smart bidding. And to sum things up, again, you don't longer, any campaign structure will work, but of course, your inputs are really relevant for what it matters, and making sure you simplify your account structure as much as possible, not overcomplicate that, and definitely leverage smart creatives, making sure you put the right message in front of people. And you don't have to have any bid adjustments, by the way, for smart bidding strategies, because you want to make sure, like first of all, they will be ignored except for negative 100% adjustments. But the reason being, we want to make sure you do cohesively see performance of and for every touch point of your customer journey. So and evaluate the performance as is on, and let the smart bidding to be really efficient there. Yeah, and then with that, I think all other ones are pretty repetitive here, but I think we are at the time, and we can open up for Q&A.
Alex, Seb, thank you so much for that presentation there. Absolutely packed full of tips. So just before we get to Q&A, just got a couple of little things here. So let me take back the screen here. Yeah, okay. So I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us today. And as a little thank you present, we'd like to offer everybody a free 14-day trial and 30% off AdEspresso. To access that exclusive offer, just go to adespresso.com/AE-webinar to access that offer there. And if you found this webinar useful, but you're thinking, hey, I need some one-to-one, I need some specific advice with this, AdEspresso, our philosophy is we don't just want to be a software platform, because that doesn't help anybody unless you know how to get the most out of your campaigns. So we do offer some services there. We offer tactical reviews, which are like 10-minute videos checking if your campaign's set up correctly. We then do one-to-one power hours, our coaching sessions, and we can even do a managed ad service. We call it a concierge service, basically similar to a cut-down agency service. We offer those both for Facebook and Google. We've got experts on both platforms there. And so if you're interested in those, they're available within AdEspresso. So you can just go to the services tab within AdEspresso to access those. And then a quick heads up on our next webinar. All our webinars are, of course, free. In October, we welcome back Gianluca. He's hosted quite a few Google webinars for us. Must point out, Gianluca doesn't work for Google, but he is an extremely knowledgeable Google expert. So if you're interested in finding out about the cardinal sins of Google advertising, join us on the 8th of October, where we'll be covering that. As usual, to sign up for that, go to adespresso.com/webinars. Also a reminder, because lots of people have asked in chat, if you want to watch the recording of this webinar, just go to that link again, adespresso.com/webinars, or our YouTube channel, AdEspresso, where you can then watch all the replays there. So I can see quite a lot of questions here. So I think we've got like 5 minutes left, so we'll dive into some of these. And Alex, the first question we've got is there an easy strategy to increase quality score? Have you got any quick actionable tips that people can do to increase their Google quality score there?
You're not gonna like my answer, but make your ads really relevant for the people. And I think there's a lot of goes into this one. And things you have to understand, the quality score is really dynamic. And every single time your ad relevance actually changing in specific auction time, the things you can see in your face are more like a historical thing, right? But making sure you leverage your smart creatives and actually smart bidding is part of the way, making sure your ad is relevant for the users. And that really ties to your assessment of making sure your quality score is actually good. So your ads should be relevant for the users on the actual keywords they're searching for. So all the really things work together. There's no like easy way for that one, but starting with the best practices, and part of the training we had today is also being touched on the combination of like the smart creatives and smart bidding.
Excellent. And just to add to that as well, because I do mainly Facebook ads, but it's the same principles of there's no such thing as the one best ad. It's more about getting the best relevant ad to the relevant audience. So think about doing your customer avatar, or sometimes we call it buyer persona research there. I know on digitalmarketer.com, if you just Google for them, they've got a customer avatar worksheet where you can like think about what the pain points, the objectives are of your users, kind of give them a name, really get into that persona there, so you can create the best kind of relevant ads. So jumping on to the next question, we've got quite a lot of people just dipping their toe into the water with Google Ads for the first time. So a question I've been asked several times is, what's the best sort of campaign type to use as a new user? That's probably a webinar in itself, but I don't know if you've just got any quick tips. We covered quite a lot today, but kind of any kind of settings or any campaign types to start as a new user there.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on your business type. It's really hard to give you one recommendation. So a lot of people they're leveraging regular search campaigns, but they're like maybe want to make sure the proper settings, like optimizing for best performing ads, is there. Making sure you don't really limit yourself in terms of the account structure. My best advice is to, I think to choose first people you want to target to, either based on keywords or audiences, and making sure you have enough sufficient resources or investment for that. Don't try to dilute yourself. I see really often that, especially for beginner advertisers, they're like hiring entire universe with $5 per day. Nothing wrong with $5 per day, but you want to make sure you do have sufficient penetration to the market, things you're targeting to. So it's really allow yourself to focus on the right things, and then instead of like chasing a lot of different things, right? So try to, in terms of the structure itself, is decide what will be the best format and where the users are before you choose the actual format itself.
Awesome. That's something that I do with my Facebook training is I say to new advertisers is you need to set the primary objective. Like what people try to do is they say they want lots of reach and they want lots of clicks and they want lots of conversions and engagement. And it's like you have to pick one thing and really optimize for that. Like Google has got, as we've seen in this presentation, extremely powerful machine learning, but it's only going to work if it knows what it's trying to learn for and optimize for. So final question here, and I've chosen this one as it's a subject close to our heart. Got a user asking, any specific strategies for SaaS businesses? And for anybody that's not sure what SaaS is, that's software as a service like AdEspresso or Hootsuite. And just before I hand over, just quick couple of points from me. There's a general calculation that you use for SaaS businesses for acquiring new customers, which is that cost per acquisition is usually about a third of the lifetime value, i.e. it can be quite high. You're not going to get customers really cheap. And also the lead time can be really long, like there's a big evaluation and consideration phase. So usually we'd optimize for something, kind of mid-funnel, like getting a lead and then getting a trial, not just going straight towards the purchase. But I don't know if you obviously come from the same background, you're doing lots of software as a service. Any quick tips before we wrap up today on how to kind of optimize for those types of businesses?
Yeah, I think you absolutely touched on the right points, and I actually been working externally in agency with some of the SaaS clients. Definitely have a comprehensive full funnel approach to these things. Think where the user starts and tailor to different stakeholders of the companies. It could be one person who's touching on your ad creative at the beginning of the journey, but then they're transitioning the decision down to the funnel for like CEOs or presidents, right? So optimize your messaging for the right users at the right state of the journey, and then really build more comprehensive solution. From the smart bidding side, a lot of SaaS companies actually prefer to, if you have different conversion actions, you can also optimize for different values. So like you don't have to be retail client to leverage machine learning and optimize for like a revenue or return on investment approach. You can still assign different values for your different conversion actions on the different stages of your funnel, and that will really inform our strategies where to kind of allocate more resources and what are the type of users are really ranked for you.
That's great. I love the point about like customizing the ads for different users. Like we see this at Hootsuite, is that there are certain people that are going to use your software, and there's certain people that are making the buying decisions. So you've got to give them different types of information and make sure that you don't leave anybody out of that equation there. So Alex, Seb, thanks for joining me today. It's been really appreciated. I think we're out of time for more questions, but I think there's you provided a lot of useful information there that's going to help people getting their ads in a very, very good place for Q4. So thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, team, and it's a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.